This is 5 News at 5.
Good evening. Leaders from 2 states met this morning to talk about a plan to save the 188th Fighter Wing. The 188th is under consideration to be cut after the first of the year. 5 News reporter Mallory Cook spoke with our U.S. senators about what they plan to do back in Washington to save the 188th.
We don't know exactly what the Pentagon is going to recommend yet.
Side by side, Republican Senator John Boozman and Democrat Senator Mark Pryor come together this morning to talk about the 188th Fighter Wing in Fort Smith. The National Guard says budget cuts could close the base.
We have some suspicions and some fears, but we don't know what they're going to recommend yet.
Both senators understand budget cuts have to happen, but argue the 188th Fighter Wing needs to stay in Fort Smith.
The 188th is not one of the most cost-effective, but perhaps is the most cost-effective base in the country.
Dozens of people attended today's briefing, including someone from each delegation here in Arkansas.
This is not only of importance for Northwest Arkansas, for the River Valley. This is important for the whole state.
The president's budget should come out in February. Right now, Pryor and Boozman are still waiting to see what the Pentagon recommends and if the 188th survives the initial cut.
I'm hoping we won't get the worst case scenario, but I think the message is we're going to plan for that and prepare for that.
Both senators plan to meet with other members of Congress in order to keep funding for the 188th in the budget. In Fort Smith, Mallory Cook, 5 News.
The 188th has about 350 full-time employees. A base realignment and closure committee considered closing the base back in 2005. It survived, and they got the A-10s. The final group of Arkansas soldiers will return home tonight. A group of soldiers with the 77th Aviation Brigade are scheduled to return tonight at 8 in Little Rock. They were in Iraq in support of Operation New Dawn. They left for training in February of this year and were scheduled for a 1-year deployment. This will mark the first time since 2003 that all Arkansas National Guard units will be home to enjoy the holidays with their families. Today, President Obama and Vice President Biden marked the official return of U.S. forces, Iraq colors, to home soil. The two attended a special ceremony at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. The president watched as troops carried the flag lowered from a staff in Baghdad last week leave their plane before attending a ceremony in honor of the troops. The last U.S. combat troops rolled out of Iraq across the border into neighboring Kuwait at daybreak on Sunday, ending nearly 9 years of war.
Rogers police need your help finding a hit-and-run driver tonight. It happened around 1 this afternoon, and now a Springdale man is fighting for his life. 5 News reporter Kamasi Aaron is on the scene with details. Kamasi?
Police say the man was standing right here on Sunset Drive in Rogers when someone hit him with a car and drove off. Now officers are looking for a Chevy Blazer, and people in this neighborhood can't believe a man was run down in the street.
It's hard, especially for the holiday season. I just hope he's well and everything.
Terry Schreiber was one of the first people to see 23-year-old Oscar Cortez after he was struck by a hit-and-run driver. It happened right outside her house on Sunset Drive in Rogers, just before 1 this afternoon. She called 911 and then tried to help.
When I got closer, I seen the victim's head split open with blood gushing out. And she was holding him, trying to make him, breathe and make sure he stayed alive.
EMS took Cortez to Northwest Medical Center. Then Rogers police began looking for a tan mid-2000s Chevy Blazer. Neighbors say they saw the car circling the neighborhood earlier in the day. One neighbor said they even saw Cortez talking to the person behind the wheel. For now, neighbors just hope Cortez can recover and their neighborhood will be safe.
I was scared because I got boys and stuff, and living something like that is, it's hard.
As for Cortez, he has been transported from Northwest Medical. Friends and neighbors here tell us he's now in a hospital in Missouri. Live here in Rogers, Kamasi Aaron, 5 News.
All right, Kamasi, thanks. Now, if you have any information about this accident, please call the Northwest Arkansas Crime Stoppers line at 790-TIPS. You will remain anonymous and could be eligible for a cash reward.
Our area dodged the snowstorm out to our west. Chief Meteorologist Garrett Lewis is here now for a look at our cold forecast for tomorrow.
Looking pretty chilly with west, but a little bit of a southwest component to the winds won't make it bitterly cold out there. In fact, you'll be surprised to even find a few 50s. Let's see what's going on. First things first, satellite and radar. Where's the low pressure? And where's the low pressure going? Well, it spins counterclockwise, currently located around southwest Missouri and southwest Kansas. It's also pulling down a little bit of west-southwest winds in our area, so we're not seeing a true major cold air outbreak with this system. The satellite and radar locally does show plenty of cloud cover, even some drizzle possible this evening, but all the snow looks like it stays just to the northwest of us. Interactive radar showing that rain right across the Missouri state line up by Neosho and Joplin, moving up towards the north and to the northeast. So for tonight, mostly cloudy skies. It will be chilly, near freezing in northwest Arkansas, around 37 in the River Valley, but because the winds are more west than northwest, tomorrow won't be all that bad. We'll talk about temperatures coming up.
Thanks. We'll see in just a few moments. The House has rejected a Senate plan today, which would have extended a popular tax cut into the new year. House GOP lawmakers said they want a year-long extension, not a two-month one. Now that senators have left for the holiday break, Congress running out of options if they want to protect 160 million Americans from a tax hike. That means workers will see about $20 less in their weekly paychecks starting January 1st. President Obama called on Speaker Boehner and other GOP leaders to move forward on the Senate's plan.
This is not a game. This shouldn't be politics as usual. Right now, the recovery is fragile, but it is moving in the right direction. Our failure to do this could have effects not just on families, but on the economy as a whole.
Speaker Boehner sent a letter to the White House after today's vote and asked the president to put pressure on senators to return to Washington to rework the payroll tax cut plan.
A single-engine plane crashed on one of the New York area's busiest highways today. The plane went down this morning on Interstate 287 in Harding, New Jersey. Police say 5 people were killed, including 2 New York City investment bankers. Investigators say the plane was headed for Georgia. Witnesses reported the plane spiraling out of control, losing pieces, hitting the ground, and exploding. The deadly winter storm in the west and Midwest is barreling onward. Blizzard conditions are making a mess of the roads in the Oklahoma Panhandle. Just look at all the snow coming down today in Guyman. About a foot of snow fell in the Panhandle. Several highway deaths have been reported, including a prison guard and inmate who died when a transport van rolled in a crash on an icy Colorado road Monday. Blizzard conditions and sub-zero wind chills are expected to persist.
Closer to home, Bella Vista's fire chief says a deadly townhouse fire has been ruled accidental. Chief Steve Sims says the fire started Thursday night in the townhome at 9 Alice Lane, likely started because of careless smoking. Rescuers found the body of 61-year-old Sherry Irby in that townhome. 3 unoccupied units also caught fire. No other injuries were reported. Siloam Springs police need your help finding an aggravated robbery suspect. Police say a man walked into the Flash Market around 9 last night on South Lincoln Street with a weapon and demanded money. Police are looking for a white man in his early 20s. He's about 5'5", weighs about 140 pounds. The suspect was reportedly wearing dark clothing and a camo bandana. Investigators say the suspect may have left the area in a dark-colored, older, small or mid-sized 4-door passenger car. If you have any information on this, again, the Northwest Arkansas Crime Stoppers line at 790-TIPS.
A man convicted of rape and capital murder recently had his court case overturned. Questions arose on the accuracy of a translated interview Jose Luis Mendez had with police in Spanish. It was given by an uncertified translator at the Washington County Prosecutor's Office. 5 News reporter Jocelyn Pruna spoke to a certified court interpreter who explains the difference certification makes in the courts.
A bad translation can make the difference between freedom and jail, and being a certified court interpreter can minimize mistakes. Annie Yancey is one of 14 court interpreters in Arkansas.
It's very important if you don't have an interpreter there, either for spoken language or for sign language, then the non-English speaking person is not really present at their own court proceeding, and they don't have equal access to justice.
Recently, certification came into question. Jose Luis Mendez, who was sentenced to 60 years in prison, will get a new trial soon because of a possible inaccurate translation made at the Washington County Prosecutor's Office. The Arkansas Supreme Court opinion says the translator who had taken and failed the translator's qualification exam translated the interview Mendez had in Spanish with police. The translation says Mendez confessed to the crimes when Mendez's defense attorney says he didn't. Mendez was eventually convicted of rape and attempted capital murder. Yancey didn't talk about this specific case, but says the outcome is never positive when translation mistakes are made.
If the person who's doing the interpreting or the translating isn't qualified and hasn't been tested and shown that they're capable of doing that, then you're going to have mistakes.
She says a common misconception is that bilingual means qualified to interpret.
So many times people who are bilingual, who are very well-meaning, are put in a situation for which they're not prepared. And they're asked to do things that they're not qualified to do.
Yancey says less than 25% of those who take the preliminary certification test pass it. In Fayetteville, Jocelyn Pruna, 5 News.
The Washington County Prosecutor's Office says a new court date hasn't been set yet for Jose Luis Mendez. At 6, we'll look into the difficulty of becoming a certified court interpreter.
This low pressure leaves our area, but about 2 more lined up right behind it. We'll talk about the chance of rain or snow coming up next.
Holiday shopping procrastinators have Toys R Us on their side. We'll tell you about their round-the-clock hours coming up.
Unemployment numbers for Arkansas are out. It's giving economists something to celebrate.
You're watching 5 News, the area's most watched local news team, with Darren Bobb, Ashley Ketz, and Chief Meteorologist Garrett Lewis, serving the region for more than 58 years. This is 5 News.